Hi everybody, this is Madonna from Mad Bees Quilt and Sew, and we are working on Vintage December. So it means it's Monday and it means that it's February, but we're working on December. I don't know. But welcome to another excerpt or another part of this. So today I have in front of me my off-white fabric, which is going to be my background color in my Vintage December pattern. And so in my cutting instructions, it says white background fabric, I need to cut 3 sections of this, 5 inches by WOF. So what that means is WOF stands for width of fabric. So when we walk into the quilt store and we say we want a yard of fabric, that's the length of our fabric. WOF is the width of it. So that this piece of fabric is actually 44 inches in width. It is 1 yard in length. So as I've told you before, I don't like working with big, huge pieces of fabric because I don't feel like I can control them. So at this point, I looked at my measurements and it says 5 by width of fabric, and then it wants me to subcut those. So 3 times 5 is 15. So I'm going to cut a piece off of here 16 inches. So I'm going to grab my fabric, I'm going to line it up, and I can see that it's not perfectly straight. I'm okay with that at this point. I'm going to put my ruler on here and I'm just going to cut off a piece 16 inches. That gives me a little bit of extra. Now, rotary cutting. Let's talk about that for a second. Line up your hip with your line that you're cutting, okay? So that way my arm stays nice and straight. When I cut, I always have ruler outside of my fabric line. So I've got ruler here that's blank and ruler here that's blank. That way I can start here and get a running start. If I try to put it onto right where the fabric is, then I kind of almost have to back up and you're chewing at it a lot, okay? And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to put my hand on my ruler, I step over, I set my ruler down, and my ruler sitting right at the, my cutter sitting right at the end of my fabric there, okay? And then I'm gonna cut. And I cut to about halfway, I move my hand, and I cut the rest of the way. See how nice and straight my hand stayed the whole time? And I had no problem getting through all the fabric. This is my 16-inch line. So I wanna keep my hand on my ruler, and I'm gonna take my fabric away, the piece that I don't need. That way, I am sure that that cut through all the way. I don't want to release my hand and try to pull, because then if I missed a spot, it's really hard to go back in and get that correctly. So right now, I have the piece that I'm going to work with. Get this one out of the way. This is going to be for sashings and other pieces that we're going to need later on, okay? It's for the, what are they calling it? Inner border, okay? And we don't need the inner border at this point in time. So now I've got this piece of fabric and it is 16 by 44. I'm going to treat this with my best press. So what that means is I'm going to take my best press and I'm going to spray the entire piece. So best press is a wonderful product. It is a starch alternative. It comes in many different bottles. I like the price of this. I don't like the sprayer on this. I like the sprayer on this. I could just use this one as a refill. And the reason I like the sprayer is it gives a much finer mist on my fabric. So I either use this bottle, and it works your thumb, I'll tell you, or your finger, I'll tell you that. Or I use the mister bottles. I really like the mister bottles. Once I've sprayed this very nicely, will you plug in the iron real quick? Once I've sprayed this pretty uniformly across this, as best as I can, I use my next favorite tool, and that is my hands. And I just go across and I just massage this in. And this one has a really good center crease to it. You can see that, how strong it is. But look at how just massaging that takes out the majority of that center crease for me. It also lets me know, oh, you know what, Madonna? You need a little bit more moisture through this fabric. There's not quite enough on there yet. I don't feel it everywhere. So I'm just gonna go with a second coat. Now, then doesn't mean I also can't turn it over to the other side and spray it, and many times I do that. Let's massage this in. But when I'm massaging this, I'm not stretching it. I'm just giving it a nice hand to it. Flip it over. Oh, look at how great this is already looking. Then you have the choice of either letting this air dry overnight or taking it to your iron and press it. Due to lack of technology here, I'm going to step away for 1 second and give this a press. But look at that center wrinkle. It's like almost totally gone. It's amazing, isn't it? Chloe's standing here, so you know she gets to nod her head at me. Laugh at me, but nod her head at me. Okay, off to the iron I'm going to go really quickly here. Chloe, sing her something. That's it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got.
It's a nice melody.
Live TV is never a great thing when you have to press in between, but I'm pressing quickly. Oh my gosh, this feels great, everybody. Just in case you're wondering, and I'm just slowly taking my iron across the fabric. I'm not stretching it out. I'm keeping it nice and level. I should have put the iron in front of us, but I didn't think about it. Okay, sorry about that, technology, you know. We could have done stop action, but we're not good at that. Okay, so I have got Best Press on my fabric now, and it gives it great strength. It just makes it feel really nice. That center crease is 99% gone now, and it just lays really pretty. But I can truly see now how non-straight it is just by laying it out there. You can see we wobble out a little wider there. So what we're gonna do now is fold wrong sides together. I find it the easiest to just look at my fabric and go fingers across from each other and just pick it up and see how nice and straight that is and let it come up. And that's really straight of grain. Okay, we're gonna just take this and take it for a walk right back here. Those two are lining up very nicely across the selvages, and I'm using just gentle fingertips to press this into place. Now, this is off by only a little bit, which is awesome, okay? I'm really happy with this piece of fabric. You can do a couple things. You can tear the fabric to find grain line. You can pull on a thread until you get it to come all the way into one long piece, which means it would go the full length of it. We're not gonna be that particular. What I need to be particular about is making sure that I don't get a big W up in the top here. And what that means is if this isn't folded at a nice angle here, you have the tendency of when we cut a straight line that it's going to be kind of a V there. And it may not be that exaggerated, it may only be a little bit of a V, but we want it to be as straight as we possibly can. Okay, so now I'm going to clean up my outside edge. I am using the line on the mat as a guide for straightness. I'm using my ruler as a guide for width, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move over to my right-hand side and leave my fabric nice and straight across this bottom edge. I'm gonna use my ruler to come right on top of it, and all I'm doing is cleaning this up. Now, remember, we only gave ourselves 1 extra inch of fabric, so we don't have a lot to be able to take off. I'm gonna back this up a little bit, and I'm watching that top point to make sure I'm all the way in, and I can take my ruler right to the 1/2 inch mark. So I'm using the table, the mat, as just a guide for where I'm placing at. Let me make sure I'm straight. Pay attention to what you're doing, Madonna. And Hello, Cheryl. Okay, so now I only have an itsy bits at the very top and about just a half of an inch at the bottom. I'm going to put my hand on. I'm going to put my ruler, my cutter right at the base of that ruler. So I've got some go time there. Hand on, cut, move, cut, move, cut. Get rid of that strip. Close my ruler, close my cutter. Now it says 3 strips, 5 inches. So my ruler goes on right at the 5-inch mark. Make sure it's nice and straight. I can see it sitting beautifully straight. I'm giving myself ruler at the end to start with. I'm going to give myself a little bit more. Being careful not to shift my fabric. Hand down, cutter open, move, move, move. Close my cutter, check my fabric. Oh, look at how nice that is. That came away beautifully without moving it. And I've got a nice clean cut there. 1, carefully move my fabric so it's on the mat, keeping the bottom edge straight across the grain there. On the 5, and cut. Nice, and 1 more. Now, because I worked with a smaller piece, I did waste a little bit of fabric, but I don't have to worry about ruining a whole huge piece because I didn't do it correctly. That is waste. So if the pattern is so specific and so tight on fabric, you may want to always buy 1/4 yard more so you just have that little forgiveness piece. Once we've done that, now we need to cut those into 18 5-inch squares. So I'm going to open up my fabric. No, I think I'm going to leave it closed. I lied. I'm going to leave it closed and I'm going to line it up using a straight line on here, removing my selvages. So I've got to look to the back side to make sure I can see where they're at. I'm using my ruler to make sure I'm straight. And I'm going to cut. And we need to do 18 of these cuts. Now we're at a perfect spot though. My ruler is going to do all of the work for me. I have got 5, 5, and 5. That is a really nice looking square inside of there. Come underneath, cut. Pick that up, move that set. Set it back down. Now, one of the things I want you to take note of, I'm going to cut this one and then I'll show you. Okay, so watch this. Look how I did that. I lifted it up, I put it down right on top of what I need to cut. So I'm putting this end down first and then setting this down and on top, versus trying to have it laying on the fabric and rearranging it and cut. So I've already got 6 pieces cut. You're going to need to cut a full 18 to be able to have enough for the pattern. The next step, we're going to scooch over this direction so I can show you the next set here. Okay, so once you've got your 18 done, it tells us right here that we're going to do some half square triangles. So half square triangles are wonderful. They are a little bit tricky because of the pressing of them. The pressing is because of bias, but right now we're just going to work on the sewing of them. So we're going to take a few of our squares that we just cut, and we need to draw on the back side of them. So today you're going to be cutting and drawing, okay? So again, we're going to be on the back side of our fabric, and you have a couple options. There are marking tools that are out in the general public, which are awesome, okay? For this, we are actually going to be cutting on that pencil line. So I actually like working with a retractable mechanical pencil. So like one of these, okay? And Sew Line makes a set of them, which are in different colors. The nice thing about the different colors is when you're working on different colors of fabric, you're able to use those. This one is actually a Bic pencil. Do not buy those cheap knockoff ones. They don't mark on your fabric very well, okay? These are not outrageously expensive, but they're more expensive than the knockoffs. A box of them's $5 or so. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you need to mark from corner to corner. But if we put our ruler exactly from corner to corner, when we go to mark, we're most likely not going to be right down the center because of the way that the pencil works. So I am just barely to the left of corner to corner. That way I can put my pencil straight up and down and mark right along it because it has some width to it no matter what you do. Here's the other trick. You cannot put your pencil down and draw a line. You have to keep it in an upright position and draw a bunch of short lines. And by that I mean you're gonna draw, lift up, draw, lift up. Because if you don't, you're gonna have the tendency to drag that fabric and you won't get as nice of a line. So I do a lot of short little strokes. And that way I don't move it. Sometimes with bigger size squares, I feel like I need to move my fingers down into the ends because they want to shift on me. So I want to make sure that I've got a nice line going all the way across. So on the bottom of the first page, it says half square triangles. You're going to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of 8 solid whites. So 8 of these that we did, we're going to put lines across. And that's what I need you to have ready for next week so you are ready to sew some half square triangles. So you've got cutting to do and drawing to do. And if you have any questions before next week Monday, give me a holler and we'll get those questions answered for you. Any comments popping up, Chloe? Nope. Excellent. Everybody have a great week and we will talk to you soon. Remember, this is the place you want to be. Bye now.